Imagine sitting in your room, surrounded by something completely invisible in the air that lets you talk on the phone, listen to the radio, watch TV, or even use the internet without any wires. Something that carries messages, music, and pictures from one place in the world to another in the blink of an eye. It's not magic, it's radio waves, the invisible couriers of information without which our world would look very different. Have you ever wondered how it's possible to hear your friend's voice from hundreds of kilometers away, or how your car's navigation works? Today, we'll discover together what radio waves are and how they transmit information. To understand radio waves, picture a calm lake. If you throw a pebble into it, you'll see circles spreading out on the water. That's a wave, a disturbance that moves outward. Radio waves are very similar, except instead of water, they travel through the air, and even through a vacuum, which is a space with nothing in it. Radio waves are a type of electromagnetic wave, just like light, but with much longer wavelengths. We can't see them with our eyes because our eyes are only sensitive to a very narrow range of waves, called visible light. Radio waves are outside that range, so they're invisible to us. But they still pass through walls, reach our devices, and allow us to communicate over long distances. Every wave, including radio waves, has its own wavelength and frequency. Wavelength is the distance between two consecutive wave peaks, and frequency tells us how many times a wave vibrates in 1 second. The higher the frequency, the shorter the wavelength. Radio waves can have wavelengths from a few millimeters to even several dozen kilometers. That's a huge range. Thanks to this, radio waves can be used for many different purposes, from FM radio to television to satellite communication. But how do radio waves actually carry information? Imagine you want to send a message to a friend. First, you need to turn your words into something that can ride on a wave. In technology, we call this modulation. It's a bit like sending a message in Morse code. Instead of letters, you use short and long signals that someone on the other side can read. With radio waves, instead of short and long sounds, we change the properties of the wave, like its height, which is called amplitude, or how fast it vibrates, which is called frequency. That's how we get the AM and FM radio waves you might have heard about. In AM, which stands for amplitude modulation, we change the height of the wave. In FM, or frequency modulation, we change how quickly the wave vibrates. This way, the radio wave carries encoded information, which a receiver, like a radio, can read and turn back into sound. For radio waves to set off on their journey, we need a transmitter. A transmitter is a device that turns voice, music, or images into an electrical signal and then places it onto a radio wave. This wave is sent out into space by an antenna. An antenna is simply a metal rod or wire that can send radio waves into the air. On the other end, there's a receiver, which also has an antenna. The receiver's antenna catches the radio waves, and the device reads the encoded information and turns it back into sound, images, or data. Here's an interesting fact. Radio waves can travel truly enormous distances. Some of them bounce off layers of the atmosphere and come back to Earth hundreds or even thousands of kilometers away. That's why it's possible to have radio conversations with people on other continents. Other waves with higher frequencies travel almost in a straight line, which is why they're used for satellite communication or mobile phones. Satellites high above the Earth receive radio signals and send them on, making it possible to talk and send data all over the world. Radio waves are everywhere around us. We use them every day, often without even thinking about it. When you listen to the radio, your receiver picks up waves sent by a radio station. When you talk on your mobile phone, your words are turned into a radio signal that travels to the nearest cell tower, and then further until it reaches the person you're calling. Television, wireless internet, your TV remote, and even some toys. All these devices use radio waves. You might be wondering if radio waves are safe. The good news is that radio waves have very low energy compared to X-rays or ultraviolet rays. They can't harm our cells or cause diseases. That's why it's safe to use the radio, Wi-Fi, or mobile phones every day. It's also worth knowing that radio waves are organized according to what's called the electromagnetic spectrum. Think of it as a giant schedule for all waves, from the longest, which are radio waves, through microwaves, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet, all the way to X-rays and gamma rays. Each type of wave has its own uses and its own place in this spectrum. Radio waves are at the beginning and are the most commonly used for communication. Without radio waves, the modern world wouldn't exist. We couldn't listen to the radio in the car, talk on the phone, watch live sports broadcasts, use GPS navigation, or connect to wireless internet. Radio waves connect people, make it possible to send information quickly, help save lives during rescue operations, and let us explore the world. In the end, it's worth thinking of radio waves as an invisible thread that connects us all. Thanks to them, we can be close, even if thousands of kilometers separate us. Next time you call someone, listen to the radio or watch a movie online. Remember, it's radio waves that make the world smaller and people closer together. If you want to learn more about how the world around us works, subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with others. That way, even more people will discover how fascinating radio waves are and how much they make our lives easier.